did see where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free with guns in our hands. We'll forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty, we've got a kind of interesting topic tonight. It's been all over the news for the last week, and I figured, hey, why not? I was going to weigh in on it too. So we're going to go live tonight. We are live on both YouTube and Rumble, and we're going to dig into a little bit of what's really going on, or what's not going on, or what's not being said, so to speak. The issue, the episode, the basically tragic killing of Brian Thompson that happened Wednesday. I'm going to start out by saying I don't care whether you like UHC or don't like UHC or think they're great or think they're awful or whatever. There's no place for this. This is the devolution or the devolution or the de-evolution of a civilized society. I mean, come on. And I know there are people out there who have celebrated this man's death. And a lot of people on the left have been out there really gung-ho celebrating it. Now, there have been some joking remarks. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my condolences are out of network. Yeah. Okay, at least that's cute. Maybe a little bit borderline humorous, a little twisted, but borderline humorous. But the people are like, oh, yeah, he got what he deserves, and more CEOs need to get there. Yeah. I don't know if you want to go there. Really don't think that's the way we want to go. I mean, if you think someone's company is that bad and they're doing things that are that bad and that justifies them being killed, wouldn't this go back to like in the late 80s, early 90s time when clinics were getting bombed all over the place? And, we universally condemned that. I may not agree with what's going on there, but I'm going to universally condemn someone blowing up a clinic with patients and healthcare staff in it. Okay. So, yeah, if what they're doing justifies murder, not the society we want to live in, folks. There's been a lot of really disgusting crap out there, and I will say it. And, it's a lot of it I won't dignify with a response. I know I read some of it, and I was like, wow, this is just plain ugly. Again, whether, we like him, hate him, whatever, okay. He's a guy. He's 50 years old. He's got a wife. He's got 2 kids. He's doing his job. A job he's had since about 2001 from what it looks like. 2021 it looks like. He's, just doing his thing. I see, Mel, we've got you in the chat doing your thing. I'm not quite sure what your thing is, whether you're doing a pug dance or what. I don't know. Who are we anymore? Quite frankly, I think it crossed a lot of a line when the phrase was uttered, words are violence. Okay, I grew up, sticks and stones will break your bones, words will never hurt you. Therefore, someone could say whatever they wanted about you. It was never considered violence. Therefore, you would never respond with violence. They put their hands on you, respond physically. Yeah. Now, We now have, well, if you say words I don't like, that's violence against me. I can assault you. No, that's not how life works. Morning, Karma. I see you there. Sorry I didn't get down your way. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, though. I see you coming running through the chat. But yeah, again, when we talk about words are violence, no, they're not. What this guy is doing is violence. No, it's not. He's doing his job. Again, trust me, I got no love lost for any insurance company, especially not United Healthcare. I have been dealing with medical billing and doing medical claims processing and stuff for about 10 years. Yeah, trust me, I have got plenty I could say about them. But regardless of what I think of them, regardless of what I think about the company, or any of the denials I've had to reprocess, resubmit, reauthorize, etc., it would be the farthest thing from my mind to hunt down their CEO. No, we don't work that way in this country. I can appeal it. I can do this. I can, But, if that's what we're going to do, we've taken a real jump into the deep end. So, okay. Brian Thompson, 50 years old, husband, father of two, was in Manhattan, midtown Manhattan. He was staying right off of 6th Avenue and about the 55, between about 55th and 54th Street, which I've stayed on 7th Avenue, right around the block from there, just down below. From that standpoint, I'm very familiar with the area. It is not a bad area. It's right down from Rockefeller Center. It's right down from where Fox News studios are. There, I believe, on 6th. I think they're on Fox is on 6th. Radio City's on 6th. A couple of blocks, probably 5 blocks below where it happened. Radio City Music Hall. This is a great area. This is Midtown Manhattan. This is the fancy part of New York City. This wasn't some, dive back alley out in Brooklyn or the Bronx. He's walking to the Hilton for a morning meeting. Now, the investor meeting he's supposed to make a presentation at starts at 8 o'clock. They're having breakfast beforehand. Doesn't have any visible security detail with him. Guy steps out of the shadows, opens fire. 2 rounds from behind, one in the calf, one in the back. Guy turns around, shooter fires again, then goes up off camera and fires a number of rounds or 2. Okay. And then runs through an alley, goes a little ways, gets on a e-bike or a city bike or one of the bikes, rides it up into Central Park. Last seen going into Central Park. Comes out of Central Park, we don't know how, and has disappeared in the wind. So far, so good. That's what we pretty much got from the tape. If you haven't seen the tape, I'm not playing it on here. YouTube would have a stroke, but trust me, it's all over the place. And we're going to go over a few real key points of the tape. And if you watch it after this, hopefully you see what I'm pointing out with how this went out. As we dig in a little bit deeper, the gentleman was wearing a hoodie, had a mask, and a backpack on. Now, I would give you 95% plus that this was targeted at this individual. People seem to be walking by the whole time, and then the guy steps out when he found this person. Now, that being said, I say 95% because maybe the guy's a sociopath and just doesn't like people in blue jackets. I mean, let's face it, we have seen random acts of insanity time before, so maybe it's not, but it seemed like this was very targeted. There was a female also right there at the time. She's looking like she thinks she's about to get shot. Guy doesn't pay her one lick of attention. So it seems like it's very pinpointed, very targeted. The weapon used appears to be a pistol with a suppressor on the end, and we're going to get more into the firearm specifics later. We talked, he fired multiple rounds. Now, that being said, the pistol we know was a 9mm. We know again it appeared to have a suppressor on it, and if you watch closely, it fails to cycle each shot. Now, one of the things that came out very early in this, and a lot of people in the media were saying, oh, this guy was clearly professional because when the gun failed to cycle, he immediately knew enough to rack the slide. It didn't throw him a major curve. Okay, give him points for that. So we'll give him a little plus for he didn't look at it and go, what's wrong with the gun? He knew it was a malfunction. He knew how to quickly fix it. On the other side of the coin, this guy is professional. If he's so professional, why didn't he test his setup beforehand? Why did he not, have his act together? Because I'll tell you something, and this has been said by more than one gun tuber, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to jump on that. Had poor Brian Thompson been able to carry a concealed carry firearm, a self-defense firearm, after the first shot goes off, this guy is clearing a jam. If Brian Thompson turns around and he's got a gun that's working and he's competent, he can possibly put 2 or 3 in the shooter. So, yeah. But I forgot. New York has lots of laws because gun control works so damn well. Yeah, gun control. Don't get me started. And again, if this has a suppressor on it, which it appears to, and I won't call them silencers, they're suppressors. They decrease the noise. They don't eliminate it, especially not 9mm in between New York City buildings. It was heard. That's an NFA item. Those aren't even allowed to be transported into the state of New York. Now, I can buy one here in South Carolina. I can own one here in South Carolina. But I have to actually get Mother May I from the ATF if I take it up the road to North Carolina or down to Georgia, even though they're perfectly legal there. NFA items. Yeah. Those are the $200 tax stamp. Personally, I think it needs to be pulled off the NFA. I think that, that's one of my things whenever, if, Brandon Herrera does become the new director of the ATF, which I'd like to see, if we get the AK guy for ATF director, hey, maybe he gets suppressors off the NFA list. Because, despite what the media would think, having suppressors doesn't make you some sort of super assassin criminal. And it doesn't make a firearm pew-pew silent. They've watched the movies and they've never fired a silenced or suppressed weapon. But okay. Digging a little further. The firearm and the suppressor don't seem to be matched, tuned, well functioning together. So he's having to continuously rack the slide after each round he fires. Yeah, not professional at all. Anyone who's a professional hitter would make sure the stuff worked, the right round, the right pressures, the right suppressor, the right springs, whatever you got to do to make it work reliably. Because the bad guy, had Brian been armed, would have likely taken rounds. So let's dig a little further. The immediate assessment is, well, it's got to be a B&T Station 6. That was one thing that came out. People talking about a B&T Station 6. B&T Station 6. Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy that. And I don't buy it's a B&T Station 6. And I'm going to show you why. I actually did some digging. Now, I was not familiar prior to this with a B&T Station 6. It is a handgun. It does come in 9mm, so the caliber is possible. But if you look at the B&T Station 6, which is right up on the screen now, when you chamber it, you actually pull that round knurled piece back. That is how you rack the slide. It actually ejects at the top, but it's not going to eject on its own. It's made that you have to cycle it after each run, or after each shot is fired. So given the fact that it's designed like that, okay, he might have expected it. But the question is, if you look at the way that knurled knob is, and you look at the way the gentleman is manipulating the firearm in the video, that knurled knob and the way he's manipulating the firearm in the video, totally incompatible. So there's that B&T Station 6 everyone's talked about. Now, for demonstration purposes, I have the most powerful firearm that YouTube will let me have on a live stream. Yes, that's right. It's a 45 toy that I have. It's a plastic toy, little kiddie toy, but it works perfectly for demonstrating this on a live stream. If you watch in the shooting, the gentleman fires the weapon and then he has to rack the slide. When he racks the slide, you see him come up with an overhand grip like this and cycle the slide back, as in this. Okay. If it was a B&T, it would be pulling this piece back. Again, we can look at the knurled knob, and that would be what's pulled back. And you actually, to take it to fire or safe, turn that one side to the other. So, okay, you pull that little knurled knob back, not the full slide, versus, again, the mechanics of what he's doing are grabbing and pulling the slide back like this. Definitely makes me think it's a much more standard semi-auto pistol. Now, could it be some other firearm? Yeah. My next question, I'm going to go out with this one. If this guy is some kind of hitman, and we'll talk about how he got there and some of the lead up to it, would he use something that's such a boutique gun as a B&T Station 6 that, I mean, I'm into guns and I had never heard of the thing. I've looked in 3 dealers locally. They don't even have them in the site. Palmetto State Armory doesn't have a single one. Okay. It's not even on their website. It's out of stock. They've never stocked it to my knowledge. A B&T Station 6. If I was going to go do a hit, I'd want something that's so Acme, so generic that it fits in with everything. I'd want a Glock clone or a Davis or a Carr or one of these. I wouldn't go quite down as far as High Point. Something you can get on the street, cheap, quick, and easy, disposable. I mean, up in New York, I got news for you, folks. If you're going to look to buy a, off-label gun up there or off-the-street gun, yeah, if you got cash, you can clank by the end of the day. So, that being said, this guy is putting all this work into this and is buying some boutique bougie gun that as soon as he's done with it, he doesn't want to have the thing anywhere near him. He's wanting to ditch it, get rid of it. Why? Well, would you want to be caught with the murder weapon? Something that directly links you to the crime scene that is so unique and has such unique ballistic character? No, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near that piece of equipment. So why not get a disposable gun off the streets of New York? That would be a far more professional maneuver, and people who do this for a living have plenty of sources. So, don't see it being the B&T Station 6, number one. Number two, it came out very early, right after it, that the firearm that was used in the crime was bought in Connecticut, yet they didn't have the firearm. Okay, well, time out. You don't have the gun, but you know it was bought in Connecticut. That lead was totally blown out of the water. It was not bought in Connecticut. They went up there. Yes, someone up there had sold a B&T type weapon, which is what everyone swore this was. But now we're starting to think it's not. I haven't seen much better video than you have, and I know NYPD, the Tara unit, and everybody, I know they've blown it up and they've looked at it. But just the way the gentleman handles the weapon, he's bringing it back. He's clearing a malfunction like this. He's not pulling back like that. That shows me that I don't think it's what they're saying it is. But let's move on. So, the gun question. You can get a generic Glock clone, something else, anything that you can slam a threaded barrel into, thread a suppressor on. Chances are, if he's not doing it the most careful in the world, he built it and didn't have time to test it. Because, there's not a lot of ranges in New York City. So that tends to be more my thought process. I think when they find the gun or they find the bad guy, I think we'll find out it was not some boutique gun. Now, the gun is failing to fire each time. Why? Well, when you add a suppressor, and we'll call them silencers, a suppressor, it changes the weight of the weapon, the shape of the barrel, it changes how gas flows and gas flows back. All of that can cause malfunctions. That's why they say if you change your setup dramatically or you change a muzzle brake or something like that, you always want to check and adjust. That's why a lot of people, if you build like ARs and stuff like that, you'll get different types of adjustable gas blocks to monitor your gas flow. You don't want it too gassy where you're getting a lot of the blowback in your face, but you want it gassy enough that it will actually cycle the bolt effectively. This guy did not do that. There are springs you can buy. There are, I think it's called Nelson device that you can attach between the firearm and the suppressor. Doesn't seem to have one on the video that will actually change the spring weight and actually help it fire. So that's where his malfunctions are coming from. It is basically a combo he put together with a pistol and a suppressor, and he threaded them and made it work. Not work well. Not a pro. Go down a little further. There were, on the casings, words written like deny, depose, defend. Now, those were written on the casings, expelled in magic marker. Some of the casings were fired, some were not fired. Again, he's playing clear the jam. Great. Now, that mimics the title of a book about tactics that insurance companies use to get rid of patients and get rid of claims. You deny it, you then drag them through it, you delay it, you depose them, and then you defend your decision in court. Because it's cheaper to do that than pay astronomical claims. So, those words written right on the casings in Sharpie, that almost, honestly, you couldn't have put a tag on the guy and said, this is about his business. Is that a true tag or is that a false flag? Could there be some other motive? Maybe. We know he's been United Healthcare CEO since 2021. So let's say it could be work related. Fired disgruntled employee, nothing to do with claims. Employee who quit, who didn't like what they were doing. Possibly. Someone who had claims denied. Maybe. And that's what a lot of the media is wanting to jump on. Oh, well, with everything going on, these CEOs, maybe. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm going down some other thoughts. If you were an investor who lost a bunch of money on United Healthcare, would you be upset enough to do something to the CEO? In October, United Healthcare was one of 3 companies named for a surge in denials on their Medicare Advantage plans. The other 2 were Humana and CVS. Interesting. So one of the 3 worst as far as denials. Okay, could be an upset customer. Yeah. They also had a major data breach earlier this year, along with a hack and ransomware attack that their customers' personal information went all over the internet. Yeah. I wonder if that was directed at them for, what? There's plenty of reasons why someone could go through this. And I'm not saying that this is the reason or this isn't the reason. I'm saying I think we need to be open to the possibilities, especially until we have a little bit more. And I think the writing on the casings is just too darn obvious. Yeah. So let's go a little further here. With them being named in a major lawsuit, do you know he's also facing a Department of Justice investigation for insider trading? He and 2 other UHC executives have actually been named in a class action lawsuit for dumping a large amount of their UHC stock and not publicly announcing it. You see, when you're in the inside, you actually have to make a public announcement when you dump a bunch of stock. Insiders dumped over $120 million worth of UHC stock earlier this year. Now, when insiders, especially the CEO, dumps a bunch of the stock in the company, investors get scared. They start selling off stock. It causes the price to crap out. If somebody had a bunch of UHC stock and they lost a bunch of money because he did something dirty dumping his, would that person have a reason? Okay, maybe. I mean, let's face it, how much, could someone's, portfolio or their life savings take a hit when insiders are dumping millions of dollars worth of company stock? And the Department of Justice is aware of this and investigating. Would you believe there's also a current lawsuit that has been filed by the City of Hollywood Firefighters Union for things that happened to their pension fund because of him dumping all his stock? He's one of three mentioned in that lawsuit. Well, wait a minute. I thought it was, he's an insurance executive. I'm going to bring this back full circle here in a minute because you're going to see something funny. So we've got that. What else is going on in his world? What are the possibilities? Would you believe that he and his lovely wife have been separated and living apart for over a year? Now, they live less than a mile away from each other in the same town of Minnesota, but totally separate houses, and neither one is a rental. He bought the other house. Okay. Now he's got two kids. She says he's a great dad. Okay. There's a reason why they're not both under the same roof. There could well be a reason why they're both not in the same bedroom anymore. I mean, when you get $1 million house, it's not like he's staying in the guest room or they're working things out. No, he went out and bought another house for close to $1 million. Now, if you go out and buy another $1 million house, there's not a plan on reconciliation. It ain't like he's staying at the YMCA for a week while they work things out. And again, this has been going on well over a year. P.S. The note on that one, both of the homes, his and hers, had bomb threats called in shortly after the shooting. Don't know if it's related or not. But as we go through the facts, we know the suspect was wearing a mask in the shooting video. He wore a mask 99.99% of the time he was in New York. They've tracked him on various cameras. The one time he did notably pull down his mask was in the hostel he was staying in. Hostel's kind of like a low-rent motel. They're clean, they're decent, but they're usually for travelers who are staying a day or two and moving on. A lot of times very popular over in Europe. People will travel around. But he was apparently pulled down his mask a couple of times on video at the hostel. Okay. He obviously knew enough to know how to, get the bike to get to Central Park, and then knew where to go in Central Park. Folks, Central Park ain't small. It's got a big one. Apparently knew where to go to ditch some stuff. The backpack that was found, they think is his. Not confirmed yet. So we're still going down through this. What do we know so far? Well, when he checked into the hostel, he had a fake New Jersey ID. He paid cash. He kept his mask on, even in his room, even around other residents. He went to Starbucks about 20 minutes before the shooting incident, got a water and some protein bars. Okay. They found a Starbucks bottle, has a smudged print on it. Right now, not useful, but they're trying to possibly enhance it. FBI and NYPD think they've already got a name on this guy. Okay. They think he came, and they're pretty sure he came on a Greyhound bus that arrived from Atlanta on the 24th of November, that he had been in New York City for up to 10 days prior to this event. Okay. In those 10 days, what was he doing? getting the lay of the land, buying a gun. Who did he talk to? Who did he meet with? Did he bring the gun on the Greyhound that he got on somewhere? Again, it was Atlanta to New York route. They're not really sure where he got on it yet. They're working on that. NYPD has already got people. If they're not already in Atlanta, they will be by tomorrow night. So definitely really kind of interesting as we put all this stuff together. They think they have him going back into the Port Authority bus station an hour after the shooting. So, okay, does the shooting, runs through the alleys, gets on the bike, goes to Central Park, ditches the backpack, possibly changes clothes, don't know, could be, maybe, not sure. And an hour or so afterwards, he's seen going into the Port Authority bus terminal up at 178th Street. He either took a cab, he may have ridden the bike, but it would be like 40 blocks. Subway, possibly. Again, they're looking through footage. Folks, if you've not been in Midtown Manhattan, there's cameras everywhere. Everywhere. So, yeah, I understand that, there's going to be a lot more to this as it comes out. Now, in the backpack, they said they found a piece of clothing and a bunch of Monopoly money. Does UHC have a monopoly? Is that something there? Or is all the money fake? Or was he supposed to scatter that on the body? I don't know. But there's just weird stuff. There's just so much weird about this. Because now, let's bring it all back together. Let's go through some hypotheses here. And this is where it gets fun. If he is the shooter, he's either a disgruntled customer or had a family member or a kid or something, which is a very real possibility. I mean, didn't they make a movie about this with Denzel Washington at one point where he ended up like taking a hospital hostage because his kid wasn't getting the care he thought he needed? So yeah, definitely possibility. But would he know where the investors meeting is? I mean, I guess you can look it up and research it online. Would he recognize the CEO walking down a New York City street from behind? Why would the CEO not be in the hotel where the breakfast was and where everything else was? Remember, he's walking from the Marriott to the Hilton. Personally, when I've traveled for any length of time on business, if at all physically possible, I stay in the hotel I'm going to be at. That way, my commute that day consists of taking the elevator downstairs. When we get a break, if I want to go grab a soda out of the fridge or go grab some snacks in the room, whatever, I can do that. Why would this guy have a hotel that is not where he's got to be speaking at that morning? Doesn't make sense. And who would know that? I mean, honestly, even if I knew exactly where the investor meeting was, oh, it's at the Hilton on 6th Avenue. I would naturally assume that the people from UHC, the executives, got rooms in the Hilton. I wouldn't dream that they'd be walking there in the morning at 6:45 in the damn morning. Y'all know I'm not a morning human, so yeah. Who would want to, in December, be walking down 6th Avenue in Midtown at 6 in the damn morning? No. That's weird that this guy knew he'd be there. Let's go to another side. Let's say this guy is a former employee who's disgruntled, may still have some contacts in the business. Guess what? They'd be able to probably tell him. I guarantee you his secretary knew where he was staying. She probably booked it for him. Maybe she told him the Hilton was full and made him walk from the Marriott. Because after all, they're right next door. It's no big deal, right? Did this guy work alone, or could he have had some tips? But again, to get something that is this weird, if, let's hypothetically say, if he had been shot, car pulled up while he's riding his front, car pulls up while he's mowing his grass on a riding lawnmower out in front of the house. Okay, fine. Someone found out where he lived. they stalked the house. But here we've got a routine that he's not following, a day-to-day routine or a regular routine. He's at one hotel going to another. He's out of town. If he had breakfast in his own hotel, he might have lived instead of going to the breakfast they were having with the investor meeting. Yeah, if he had slept in and decided to skip breakfast, he might have lived. That's how weird this was. Too many coinky-dinks. Next question. The guy, the shooter, where'd he get the gun? We know buying a gun and or suppressor in New York, the suppressor will be really hard. You can get the gun, but you're going to have a little bit of oomph, a little connection, good amount of cash. Could he have brought it with him? Well, on a Greyhound bus all the way from wherever he got on, somewhere between Atlanta and New York. May have been Atlanta, we don't know. So some questions there. But if he didn't work alone, could someone have met him with the gun? Maybe that's why he was there for 5, 6 days, 10 days prior to. It seems kind of weird. You've got to go spend 10 days if you know where he's going to be on what date and what time, why are you there 10 days early? Just to walk around? I mean, maybe the guy wanted to see the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center. I get it. For all we know, he got like studio passes and went down and saw Greg Gutfeld's show. I don't know. But the guy goes on a Greyhound bus. Yeah, something that's documented. Gets there 10 days in advance. Now, if he had taken the Greyhound to, say, Philly, or taken a plane to Philly or to Newark, rented a car, or just used mass transit, whatever, okay. But to get a Greyhound to New York 10 days early seems weird. Why does this guy not have a security detail with him? His wife said that he had been getting multiple threats. Who knows he doesn't have a security detail with him? Internally in his company, what kind of power struggle is going on? How many employees may have employee stock ownership plans that when he and his buddies sold off and tanked the prices, how much money did they cost him? Or did he cost them? I can't say that I know any of this for certain. What I am saying is the disgruntled person who got a claim denied, I don't see them going to all the trouble to ride to New York on a Greyhound, spend 10 days there, staying in a communal hostel type thing. I mean, it's like a not so fancy college dorm where you share a room with like 3 or 4 other guys. Okay, they went through all that trouble, came up with a gun and a silencer in New York. This guy would have to be pretty damn committed to the plan to go through all that. And then he'd have to know his plan would work, or think his plan would work. He'd have to know what place the guy's walking from, what his route of travel is. He'd have to know he wasn't staying in the hotel. I think there's something that's going to come out, and I think there's going to be a discussion internal and looking so much more plausible. Internal would know his routine. Internal could find out he's staying at the Marriott. And depending on how close to it the person was, or close to him the person was, do you think they might have said, oh, yeah, so you staying at the Hilton? No, I've decided to stay over at the Marriott because I get my Bonvoy points and it's much better. And it's just walk next door in the morning. I'm just going to walk over. Oh, do you want us to set up breakfast at the Marriott? No, don't worry about that. I'm just going to walk over to the breakfast buffet at the Hilton because we're holding the conference there and I'm the CEO. Again, this weird, I think we're going to find some connection of an inside job at some point. And that's where someone's going to know that he doesn't have security. Someone's going to know where he's going to be, when he's going to be. As far as the gun goes, I don't think it's going to be some fancy boutique bougie something or other. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. Now, they have not recovered the gun yet. We know that, with the metal detectors in New York, especially in midtown Manhattan, if he wanted to get on the subway, he wouldn't want to have a gun with him because they're not at every station, but they're at a lot of the larger Manhattan stations, especially like some of the fancy ones. So, from that standpoint, it definitely is very, very interesting. Okay, see what we've got here in the chat. Have Mel saying UHC and Prisma royally screwed over many people, including yourself, with their spot in South Carolina this year. Yeah, but this was a human with a family. It's just horrible. Yeah, again, insurance companies, they get in the spats with all that all the time. It's the same reason why you see TV channels get in spats where they suddenly come off on where they're not on this cable network for a month and you end up missing a football game or something. Have I heard the rumor that he was supposed to testify against somebody in a high power position? I did see and research a rumor that he was possibly supposed to be testifying against old Queen Nancy Funbags Pelosi. However, that being said, that's kind of been debunked. The reason is she did invest in a company that handled a lot of the AI recovery and the damage recovery post their hacking. So from that standpoint, he might know a little something, but chances are that's not going to be a big one now. And again, we have to say, I don't know whether she or any of her minions would know what hotel this guy is going to be staying at. And again, let's go with the bad guy was really smart, called his secretary and said, "Hey, I know that Brian told me he wasn't staying at the Hilton. Which hotel is he staying at? I'd love to catch up with him for dinner and drinks." Maybe. And she said, "Oh, he's up at the Marriott. He always likes the Marriott." Okay, maybe. But again, there's so much. And again, did the person work alone? Is there someone at the hotel who could possibly be in on it? I don't know how many days he stayed at the Marriott. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm saying maybe. I think we need to keep our mind a lot more open than what I saw in the media this week. And that was part of why I pushed this video out. Because the media seems to have it all figured out that, oh, yeah, this guy, it was this gun, and he bought the gun in Connecticut. Well, the FBI's been to Connecticut. It wasn't the guy. The person who did actually buy one of those B&T firearms in Connecticut came and met with the FBI, and he doesn't look anything like, the gentleman who did the shooting, and he's got a really good alibi, and he's still got his gun. Okay? Huh. So let's go forward. We figure out, if it was her, does she have the connections? Or again, anyone really, do they have the connections to get someone to go do that in New York? Because let's face it, with the cameras in New York and with the, especially post 9/11 awareness of everything and the facial recognition software, I would pretty much say that, while the FBI may be helping NYPD with some of the interstate issues as far as having NYPD officers working in other states, say looking at guns in Connecticut or going to Atlanta or trying to figure out where the bus was, I would say from a crime lab aspect of it, that NYPD, TARU, probably has at least what the FBI has, if not better. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. I'm gonna go with one, and I can't say this. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm saying, what if this guy apparently not getting along with his wife? Maybe he's a scumbag. Maybe he's not giving her enough money for the kids. Maybe, one of the kids now has to quit her ballet or whatever else. I don't know. And they decide to do something about it. The old joke is in divorce, guys lose half, but the women get half. Did they have a prenup? Or was she only going to get half? And if he dies while they're still married, maybe she gets all and gets the cash in on life insurance. Who knows? I'm not accusing the woman. I understand that she's a fairly well respected physical therapist out in Minnesota. That being said, maybe she's as honest as Snow White's angel. What about the guy she's dating? What about some ne'er do well brother he has? I don't know. To say that they did this over an insurance denial, somebody had to know way too much to pull this off. Somebody had to time it right, be in the right place, the right time in New York City with a gun and a suppressor. Let's face it, carrying a gun in New York City ain't easy to do. So, somebody did it really well. Again, as we go through, these are questions I have, and I think we'll see over the week. It's going to be interesting to see what the firearm actually turns out to be. Again, I'll show you the B&T for those of y'all who missed it when I pulled it up on screen before. You pull that little knob back to chamber it. That's how you rack the slide. You pull that knob back. Now, if you pull that knob back, but when you've seen him on TV actually handling it like this and pulling it back this way, comes up, good. No, sorry, don't buy it. It was a B&T. They went to the gun shop in Connecticut. Media said, oh, came out Connecticut. They went to the gun shop. That's not it. Okay. Now, supposedly they have a name. I'm not saying they do or they don't. If they've got a name, this guy is going to be caught pretty damn quickly, especially if he's still in the U.S. You know what? I hate to say, if it was me and I was trying to get the heck out of Dodge after all that, I would be getting on the Port Authority going somewhere north. I'd be trying to find me like a bus or a Greyhound or an Amtrak or something that was going somewhere towards like Detroit or somewhere up in there, Vermont, somewhere that I could make a backwoods trip across the line to the land of maple syrup and moose nuts. Because, folks, I got news for you. He's going to be caught if he's in this country. Or, well, he may just like Epstein himself. Who knows? Once he realizes that, yeah, I shouldn't have pulled my mask down in front of a cute chick at the hostel because now my face is all over the country and there's like I think a 10 or something $1,000 reward. I don't know. I know it was going up at one point. Doesn't make sense. A professional Oh, that was another thing I forgot to mention. Somehow, as he was leaving the scene, in between running away and this, that, and the other, and getting on the bike and driving or riding into Central Park, he dropped a phone on the scene. Now, they don't know if it's his regular phone or a burner or whatever else. They're still trying to hack the phone or break into the phone. But guess what? If it's a professional and he's carrying a cell phone and has any communications on it about anything, yeah, not seem professional to me. Losing your phone, especially if it's not just a dead burner phone, losing your phone, no, not professional. Firing 2 rounds at the back of the target, putting one on the back and one in his calf, and then having to turn around and like run up on him to finish the job, not professional. Traveling in and out on a Greyhound, yeah, there's a lot can be said. My biggest thing is when you're doing in and out on any sort of public transportation, it's always able to be reviewed, able to be looked at. So even if they know just his name and his basic information for now, guess what, folks? They're going to have that done pretty well. I would estimate one of two is going to happen. He's going to be locked up in the next week and a half, or B, he'll be found somewhere 10-7. He's going to revoke his own birth certificate, so to speak. Why? Because you put all this effort into this plan, go up there, 10 days in the hostel, do all this, and we're not even a week in yet, and the FBI's already figured out who you are. Yeah. And again, with as public as this is, not going to work out real well for him. Alrighty. Folks, that's all I've got. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What am I missing? Am I crazy about going through this stuff? Look at the reports. Let's see how this plays out. Because I think a lot of it is really interesting when the media, the guy's not even in custody yet, and there were already people, talking about, oh, well, this is why it happened. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons it could have happened. Oh, well, this is clearly a professional hit. I watched 3 or 4 anchors. Well, it's clearly professional because he knows how to clear a malfunction. Minnie, I know we're on delay, but I'm going to say this. If you pull the trigger and expect to get a bang and you don't get your bang, do you know how to clear a malfunction? If you do, congratulations, Minnie. That skill makes you a professional hitter. The media has also come out with anti-gun stuff about, now look at this. This man had a suppressor. Okay. And they're trying to make suppressors. We need to see who can get their hands on these deadly suppressors. They keep calling them silencers, but yeah. With all the crime going on in New York, how many times do you hear that a suppressor or silencer has been used? You don't. So there's 5 million of them out there in the world, and every town has already come out and said that NSSF, National Shooting Sports Foundation, is trying to make these assassination tools more popular. No, they're hearing protection tools. And Minnie, since I'm picking on you in the chat, you and I have been on a range indoor. Someone a couple of slots down was firing a 22, not a 9, but a 22 suppressed. Could we still hear, even with hearing protection on, we're still hearing the 22 going off. So, yeah. I'm not going to go with that whole thing. And Minnie says, yes. I know how to clear a simple malfunction. She is apparently a professional hit woman. Wow. Minnie Mouse going rogue. Yep. Apparently, Minnie Mouse found out that Mickey had turned gay and was now fucking Daffy. And so what happened? She went rogue and whacked him. So, yeah, it's kind of ugly. Mary, that's quite all right. Glad you could join us tonight. I understand you had your hands full. Busier than a one-legged woman in a butt-kicking contest. But welcome in for the evening. Hope you enjoy. And again, like I said, there's just a lot of questions. I want to know who knew he was traveling alone. I want to know who knew who the hell he was staying, because that will dictate what entrance you use. These big hotels have doors on all sides. Imagine a hitman goes all the way up there, a professional hitman, and is on the wrong side of the building, and the guy gets in and out and never gets an eye on him. Yeah. Didn't happen that way. It's not a professional job. There's definitely someone's got some big help in this. Someone's got a hand in this. And again, it could be that it's multiple people working together, but who would know he's not staying at the hotel? That he'd be walking? I mean, Minnie, you tell me, would it make more sense for him not to have stayed at the Hilton? Would we not all expect him to stay at the Hilton? Yeah. Someone knew he wasn't. Someone knew he'd be there at 6 something in the morning, walking down the street toward the Hilton. They knew where to set up. Yeah. Very, very much smells like there's something internal here. Or again, if his wife I'm not saying she did or she didn't. I can't say that. And again, it's not just her, it's anyone connected to her that maybe, you know, this scumbag cheated on her. Or maybe she's a hoe and she cheated on him. Maybe he or she or one or both had a massive porn addiction. I don't know, but for some reason they're not even under the same roof anymore. So that shows a little something there. But again, hard to say exactly what it is. Just thinking that we need to keep a lot more of an open mind. Okay, let's see here. Mel says if my attorney has an out of town meeting at a particular hotel, probably booking him to stay at that hotel. Okay. Unless it's a crap hole. Yeah, I understand. Makes total sense. I know when we went out to the Medicare Medicaid billing conference in Vegas several years ago, pre-Rona. The conference was at Planet Hollywood in their conference rooms. We booked rooms at Planet Hollywood. Why? No driving, no parking, no nothing. Just take the elevator to and from class. When I went to the Texas EMS convention a couple times in Austin, now there, the conference center was at an independent conference center that the Hilton was across one street and Courtyard Suites was over across the other. I stayed at Courtyard. It was a little cheaper than the Hilton, and it was literally one was on one side of the road, one was on the other. So, okay, made sense. I don't see someone walking in New York at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning in December. Yeah. I wonder if, who booked this hotel. Maybe they, again, left him hanging out there. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Folks, that's all I've got for tonight. Watch this story as it comes out. Let me know let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Again, want to give sort of a deep dive into all this. This is what's really going on. The whole, mess with what's going on with, the media. You've got one saying it's a professional hit. You've changed channel and they say, oh, they've already found where he bought the gun in Connecticut and this is what gun it is. Yeah. And then someone else comes out and says, well, clearly it's because he's a CEO. Maybe. Yeah. I don't think it was random. Mel says, well, what if the Hilton was booked up? And that's a really great question. That is a possibility, is a real possibility. But again, that would be a question they'd find out. I'm sure, one of the questions I would be doing if this was my case, I'd be talking to his administrative person or his admin assistant or whatever and say, who booked it? How many people knew where he was going to be? Why was he not in the Hilton? These are all these questions I'd have coming up. He's got all these threats against him, and he's traveling alone without a security detail and walking down the street at 6:45 in the morning. Yeah. Wow, if that didn't sound like making someone vulnerable. And she says, well, he booked Marriott because of the fact that he just likes Marriott better. Okay. Well, maybe Marriott had a heated pool and he wanted that. Okay. But there's questions that need to be asked, I think. And I'm sure FBI and NYPD, great question. I don't know if he usually had one. Is it a thing for an insurance CEO? I can say this without breaking any confidentiality. CEOs of major companies who get threats frequently have 2 to 3 gentlemen who are with them that are carrying attaché cases that most likely have ballistic plates in them. and may well have aid kits. Some of these private security companies that do executive protection, executive details, yeah, it may look like, oh, this is one of the attorneys I brought with me for this meeting. The guy's not an attorney. The guy's carrying a briefcase with ballistic plates and a firearm or two in it. So yeah, so definitely, a CEO of a major company, if he's getting threats, he should have had a security detail. Um, I mean, let's face it, there are actors in this day and age who travel with one or two person security detail. I mean, heck, there are plenty of them who have 24/7, a lot of them. So yeah, and especially traveling in a strange city under threats. Yeah. Are the investors meeting pissed off? There's a question for you. We've talked about internal to the company. What about he's then going to the investor meeting? How much money did they lose when he sold his stock and tanked theirs? Boy, they would have gotten a notice of when that meeting was, wouldn't they? Yeah. And maybe they were looking around or they told somebody. They will. Lots of questions. This is an interesting one. I'm going to keep following it. Drop a note in the chat. Let me know. Did I miss something? What do you think? Do you have any great hypothesis? Hey, if you put it in the comment section below, it'll actually have a date and time stamped. And then if it comes out that your crazy theory that you thought was some crazy wacko nut theory, and it turns out it was totally right, you can actually claim it. Say, look, I put the comment in there. That was it. We talked about it. And I thought this. And hey, look, there's the date and time stamp when I did it. Yeah, give you bragging rights. Alrighty, folks, I've appreciated it. I'm going to cut it off for the night. Hope y'all have a wonderful night. Plan on being back tomorrow over on the other channel doing some real hard truthing. And our real hard truth over there, we're going to do a week in review. Any new updates on this case, I'm going to sort of touch on. And then we're going to get into what's going on with Mr. Penny and that case. And then I've got a couple of other really fun topics to touch on for that one. So I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Be smart, be safe. Bye.